right applications for elderly people. One thing is important. I'm going to structure a bit the talk so that you understand the approach. When we talk about elderly, what we say in a silver economy in France, we always immediately think about people who cannot use advanced digital technologies or who are disabled in one way or another or are not able to. This view is incorrect, in fact. Every segment of the population has its abilities or disabilities and its desires. So you have to also analyze what old people want or do not want, as you would analyze what they can do or cannot do. And this is very important. I'm going to take you an example. If you take a teenager, they can download an app, they can talk on the phone, but they don't want to. So if you design a product for a teenager, you will take that into account, and it's natural because you would say, okay, they do not want to, and it will be natural. It's okay, if I do this, they will not use it. For the elderly people, it's exactly the same. You have to take into account what they want and what they do not want, because it's not, for example, that they cannot use such a technology. Is they don't care about it, they don't want to use it. So the first point is to understand, in fact, who you are addressing, what type of people, because there are different teenagers and there are different elderly people. Not all old people are the same. For example, and especially when you address those old persons, you have to understand what are their dynamics. I'm going to share you a slide that I find very illustrative of this. This slide presents, in fact, of something that you can on which we can build. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Okay, you all see, I hope. If you cannot see the slide, just let me know. On that slide, you see two graphs. Okay, those graphs are from a study called CREDOC, which is a French annual study about the, I would say, the behavior of anyone regarding digital space. The two graphs show two different things. On the left graph, if you look at it, you say, wow, almost everyone has a smartphone, 73%. And you say, whoa, everybody has a cell phone, 94%. So, okay, that is good. So what you would say, okay, I can use whatever technology I want because almost everybody has a computer, cell phone, smartphone. Okay, this is interesting. Now, if you say, okay, I want to address all people, look on the right-hand side of the page. Look at the graph. What you see here is that if you consider smartphone, I would say, ownership across the ages, you see that the old people, I would say not even old people, people about 60, half of them do not have a cell phone. A smartphone. So this is an analysis we conducted or we used when we started our service, and we saw that. Why was it interesting? Is because when you look at patients, so people who go to the hospitals, it's mainly old people. It's not teenagers. It seems obvious, but very frequently people think they address the entire population or the entire anybody. In fact, you do not address everybody. You address a subset of the target, especially if you start your company. If you say, I address everybody, this is a very, very bad sign because you will not be able to do any difference. When you are a small startup, you need to address a very small subset of your target population. So if we come back to the slide, you see that old people, half of them do not have smartphones. So first conclusion is that if I use smartphone, I will not be able to target half of my target population. Second point, question of usage. If you say, okay, those who will use the smartphone, are they using, what type of, I would say, tools do they use? If you look, for example, at the icons below the slide, what you can see is that not all technologies are used the same way across all ages. Especially if you look at the red, gray, yellow, and blue icons, you see that the target population do not use them. You probably all recognize those icons, and you understand that they don't use them. It means what? It means that that target population is not going to download applications. They have a smartphone mainly to take pictures, for example, of their grandchildren, of their activities. They use email because they were raised with emails and they know emails. They use text messages. So if you want to target that target population, you need to adapt to what they will use. It's an ability and it's a desire. If you would target the youngest one, you would try to use technologies that they like to use. It would be natural. So you have to think about that. So do not think only about old people as people who cannot do something. Think about a class, a segment of the population that has its own desire also. The second point is to consider, I would say, the silver economy or old people in a different way. Not in a different way, but they have other characteristics. For example, above 60, much less people work. It means that they are at home. It means that they do different things. When you are you are at work, you are behind a desk, for example. You have a computer. You are in a city, most probably. When you are at home, you may be in the countryside. You may be in your house, not behind a computer. You may be in the garden, etc., etc. And this is very important because it's a characteristic of your target population. It's not a characteristic of those human beings. It's the characteristic because at that age, you do different things than you do at 20 or 30 or 40. And that is very important. It means that whatever you target population, you need to analyze how they behave. If you want to target a teenager, you know that they are at their parents' house, they go to school, etc. So you are not going to ask a teenage people to do things while they are in class. You cannot target them. You cannot, for example, put an advertisement for chocolate bars at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They are not behind the TV, they are at school. And so exactly as you would consider targeting a target population between, I would say, 10 to 50 years old, you need also to think about how to target elderly people. What are they doing? Where are they? Where you can find them? What technology do they have at home, for example? If you live in a countryside, in a mountainous area, for example, 3G cannot be, maybe not be very great. 4G even worse, and 5G, we don't talk about it. So this is a second point you need to consider. A third point that is important is try and distinguish between permanent and temporary situations. For example, it's not because you cannot do something at a point in time. For example, if you had eye surgery, you may not be able to look or to see things very clearly. This is a temporary thing. And it's very important to distinguish it because in your target population, for example, if you take the elderly, some of them, I talk a lot about the healthcare data because this is what I know. For example, they have an eye surgery, you know, what we call cataract. If you have cataract, you may not, for a few days, see things as precisely as if you had hand surgery, for example. And this, although it is important, it is temporary, sorry, it is important to consider because you won't have the same reaction, you will not be proposing the same same solutions for somebody who has undergone a hand surgery as somebody who had undergone eye surgery. So you will again distinguish between two temporary situations if your service addresses the patient or sorry, your target population during that time. So that third point is to, when you address whatever the silver economy or anybody else, it's to try and see at what is the time window you want to interact with your target audience. Is it while they are holidays, while they are during the weekend, during the time of the week? Because you can understand that for somebody working, it's completely different to be asked something during the week, the weekday, between 9 and I would say 5 o'clock, and during the weekend. Whereas for in the silver economy, it's complete, as people do not work, there is a blur between the weekdays and the weekends. And so the schedule may not be as tight, as organized, and you can have, and people cannot be easily accessed even during the weekends, because they organize their life, they go on holidays. During the day, during the week, they may do activities that are not strictly planned, with, I would say, a tight schedule from 9 to 5 o'clock. So all what I said about silver economy is in fact, I would say, a special case of analysis when you analyze your target population. It's not different. You have to understand, so if I sum up, what they can, but also what they want to do, because if you want your service to be used, you need to use technologies that people want to use, not only things that they can use. You need to analyze what are the specificities of the target population when they are old. Where do they live, for example? What type of activities do they do? It's completely different to address an old people in Paris, whereas an old people in the countryside. And third, you need also to understand what are the temporary elements in the life of the target population. And I said, I took the example of temporary could be having undergone a surgery, or being on holidays versus being at work, etc., etc. So silver economy and addressing people above, I would say, retirement age is not a specific case. It's a specific, it's an analysis as you would do for any target population, except that you need to understand what it means to be retired, to be old, to be, etc., etc. It's not an analysis of disabilities. Really bear that in mind. Old people, somebody who is 70 has, in certain aspects, more liberty to use any technology than 18 years old. Okay, this is more or less what I wanted to say, and I can take questions now. Feel free, do not be shy. You're astonished with the talk. You lost your voice. I know the first question is the most difficult, so. Come on. I'm going to ask a question, and so it will be easier for you. I shared with you the graph and the cell phone on the cell phone usage, smartphone usage. As a conclusion, we used, as everybody do not have a smartphone, we decided to use text messages, SMS. Could someone imagine what are the benefits of using text messages regarding relative to smartphone? Okay, I see an answer. You don't need to have an internet connection. Yes, very good point. It means that if you are in a mountainous area with no 3G, or you are in a basement, or you are in the metro, you can still use text messages. And why is it important? Because some people said yes, but they will answer that when they will. Everybody has 3G, except that when you don't have 3G, you cannot do anything with your phone in the metro, for example. So the only thing that works is our application. So people usually are bored in the metro, and they can answer. So it can be shareable. Yes, it can be easily shareable. We can see that, for example, when we have sometimes old people that are operated, that undergo surgery. It's their children who want to receive the text messages, and then they forward it to their parents, mother or father, and say, okay, I have received that message for you. Please follow the rules. So they add an extra message. Okay, very good point. Third answer, because it was usually the target use. It's a question. What is a target use? The target use of text messages. Let me share the screen so you will understand. The target use is to know how patients if patients are okay. So asking questions like that. You see on the left hand side, if everything is okay, answer TVB, tout va bien. So everything is fine. This is the question we usually ask, and we ask many other questions. The idea is to be able to know whether a patient is in good situation or not, either prior or after surgery, or for any disease. We do Alzheimer, we do cancer, we do cardiac diseases, anything. Any other idea what text message? What were the benefits we had for everybody also with text messages? Okay, there is a question. So when you use text messages, SMS, is it only a means of communication, or do we bring it on a web platform? In fact, what we do, let me share the screen again. Text messages are have a very good benefit, huge benefit. They do not require the user to create an account and to enter a password. When they answer a text message, they just answer, they type a message. So it's very simple, it's very fast, because elderly people don't like to use applications, but teenagers do not want to download applications either, to create an account and to enter a password. They are very, very lazy. They do not even type. They record a message and then send you a record message. I know I have children. So let me share you the second point is, how do we bring that information to the web? So basically, the patient discuss with the system. You know, as you see here, the chatbot send text messages, the patient answers, the system analyze the answers, and then do other things, either ask other questions, raise alerts, and so on. And the summary is displayed on a page like this one, where you have a red spot on the left-hand side of the patient to know there is an alert. You have to look at the alert. So yes, there is, all text messages are brought back on our servers and on the internet, on the application for the users. I hope that answers the question. Okay, feel free either to type your question or to answer still the question I asked. Did you see any other benefits of using text messages with your target audience, even outside the health environment? To give you, I'm going to give you a sense of the difference. I'm going to give you 3 figures. When the hospital tries to call a patient, only 60% of them answer. When they implement a smartphone application, only 20% of patients answer. When they implement a text message system like we do, can you say how many patients in percentage answer to the system? Okay, I can see 75%. Give me the figures you think. All right, 80%. Okay. Come on, just imagine how many people. What are the percentage of people that answer? I give you the 2 base points. 60% of patients answer the phone. 20% download and use the applications when it's application. What is, according to you, the proportion of patients that use text messages when we ask them questions? Okay, I see 85. It's raising. Right. Any other idea? Nobody else has ideas on that? Okay, the answer is 95%. So in average, so we have followed about 2 million patients now, 95% of the patient answer. When we work in special areas like oncology, so cancer, that number raises to 99%. So almost everyone. It's huge. I'm going to ask you a second question. What is important when we go and see our customers? They say, okay, it's good text messages, but when we call them, when we have them on the phone, we have them on the phone now. It's useful. If I send them the message at 10 o'clock, I understand that 95% will answer, but they ask us, if I send them at 10 o'clock in the morning, at what time will I receive half of the answers? So according to you, at what time? Okay, at first I'm going to ask the question here, and I'll re-ask that question afterwards. What is the percentage of answer according to age? What is very, very interesting is that answer rate is flat. There is no difference between 20 years old, 40, 30, 50, or 80 years old. Everybody, the answer rate is the same across all ages. We made a study on that for the ARS, Agence Régionale de Santé, so the health coordinator in Paris, around Paris, and we saw that it was completely flat, no difference. It's a very good question, by the way. So if I come back to my question, when we send a message at 10 o'clock, at what time half of the patient have answered according to you? Okay, so 11 o'clock for the first one. Okay, 10:05. Okay, 10 minutes later. All right. Okay. Any other idea? Do not be shy. Don't hesitate to put things. If you want to build, a startup, you want to address, you want to have an idea on that. You want to have an idea on all what I say. Nobody else wants to risk an answer? 1 minute, okay. Okay, the answer is, okay, Eric knew the answer probably. It's 5-minute delay. So basically, if we send a message at 10 o'clock, at 10:05, half of the patients have answered. Another question, That is very important. It means what? It means that we say to the nurses, if you go at 10:15 on the application, you will almost see all the answers and all the alerts. And why is that important? Because they ask us, how much time will I spend on the application? Will I spend half of my day on the application? And we say, no, people answer very fast. So you need only to look at it 2 or 3 times in the day. So it's not time consuming. So you will save a lot of time. Another question. People answer fast. According to you, who answers first? People who are okay, or people who have problems? Okay, people who have problems, all right. Other opinions? Who are okay, okay. People who are okay, okay. Yes, I repeat the question. We send text messages to the patients to know whether they are okay at home after surgery. And we ask them, if you are okay, just answer okay. If you are not, answer something else. Half of the patients answer in 5 minutes. The other half answers later. In that first half of answers, do you think we have mainly patients who are okay or patients who have a problem? Is that clear? Okay, right. Anybody else want to make a guess before I give the answer? Okay, very good. Okay, I have very good answers. In fact, it's people who have issues, problems that answer first because they need help and they want to be helped. So you have a double benefit here. First of all, you get answers fast. And second, you get first the people who have problems. It means that somebody who has a problem, instead of waiting for a phone call that could come at 5 o'clock in the afternoon because the nurse would spend all day calling patients, now he will be called like 10 minutes after having received the message. So you see the impact, the direct impact. So it's very important, for example, that you understand, you analyze that when you address your target population, be they young or old. Try and understand what is the answer rate. Who answers first? Why do they answer? I'm going to ask you another question that is also important that you can analyze when you launch your company. When we started with a French hospital in Paris, a CHU, and the nurses say, okay, the technology will work, no doubt, but patients will dislike it mainly, right? Okay, to your point of view, did if you were in that situation, would you say that we mainly have old people, okay, in surgery? Do you think that it's efficient, but they do not like it, or do you think they prefer to be called by the nurse, or do you think they prefer to have an electronic device like a text message? What is their preference? I did not say whether they work, they use it, they do not use it, it's efficient or not. I say when we ask them, what do they say? I prefer call or a text message. Okay, first, being called, right? Call by nurse, okay. Any other opinion? Okay. Right. Okay. I give you the answer. The answer you gave is exactly the answer we received from nurses. Nurses know patients. They do not know the person at home. We conducted a study that is published, when in fact the hospital conducted a study and the results were astonishing. 90% of the people who used text messages did not want, if proposed, to be called by a nurse. Only 10% would have preferred call from the nurse. There is a massive, huge preference for text messages. And remember, they are old people. They are not young people. They are not. It's not the image you can have. Yes, it's astonishing. And I'm going to ask you a question. If you now you know the answer, can you explain that answer? Why most 90% of the people prefer text messages? Okay, I can see the answer coming in. Okay, try and think, why do they? It's important to understand deeply who you address. And try and think, why do they prefer text messages? Okay, I see answer, very interesting answers. Be creative. I'm sure somebody have grandfathers, grandmothers, parents who are not very young. What would you say? Why would they prefer to receive a text message than a call? There are many reasons. Come on, I see very good. I see very good answers, but you can create more. You can have more.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Alexis.
Yes.
So we are out of time already, and we're a bit late.
Okay.
So maybe you can have like 1 or 2 minutes to conclude, and then we'll have to move to the next speaker.
Okay. Conclusion. So all the reasons you gave are the one that they said, because we asked the patient why they didn't want the call. Because first they say, I am not interrupted. Just imagine you receive a phone call, you're at the toilet. Will you answer? Okay. You are in an expo, in a museum. Will you answer? You are doing your shopping at Carrefour. Will you answer? No. It's asynchronous, so it's less intrusive. Exactly. It can be stored. Exactly. We have lost the paper. We do not lose the cell phone. We know where the information is because we send also information and so on. It's easy to read. Yes, people who do not speak French well. Just imagine, you don't speak English well. Do you prefer to read the article on the paper, or do you prefer to hear it on the BBC? Exactly. So you have the right answers. So my conclusion is, when you want to address all people or whatever, any target population, you need to make the analysis yourself. Go on the field, analyze what is the reality. Do not stay with preconceived ideas about they can do that, they cannot do that, they like that, they do not like that. It might be very, very different from what you expect. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alexis. Maybe you want to put your email or your contacts on the Slack, or anything you want to share so that people can reach out to you. And we already have to move to the next speaker, and I will let Jade maybe introduce the next talk.
Thanks. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you so much, Alexis.
Hi, yes, thank you so much. Okay, so next we have Mr. Alex Odajima. First, I wanted to say thank you so much to Mr. Alex and Edge of Innovation